Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week I'm joined by Matt Richardson, Matt Hungry Again on TikTok, to preview the upcoming D23 Expo. If you're a fan of the podcast and would like to consider pledging your support, there will be a link in the episode description for you to check out the various tiers offered. Also, please be sure to check out our TeePublic store to buy some Force Ghost Conversations merchandise. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another installment of Force Ghost Conversations. I'm really excited for this episode and for you all to listen to it. Matt Richardson joins the show for the first time guest on the podcast, and it was just an absolute blast to chat with him about Disney, the parks, and the upcoming D23 Expo, which we will both be in attendance at. And I got to tell you, I'm very excited for this convention. I think there will be a lot of things introduced and announced at this convention that we've been waiting for a long time as Disney fans and Disney fans of the parks as well, especially with that Saturday showcase event that they're going to be having. I think that's going to be just an awesome way to showcase all the wonderful things that they've got in the works there at the company. And I'll be boots on the ground. So it'd be so fun to keep up to date with everybody about the things that are happening there. And if you want to, again, follow along with all the adventures that are happening, of course, this is taking place on August 9th, 10th, and 11th at the Anaheim Convention Center. But be sure to follow all of our social media accounts, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all those. And just search for Force Ghost Conversations and we'll be there in some capacity. And I'll be posting all the fun activities that we're doing there and the booths that we're checking out and the panels that we are able to get into. And all that will be there for all of us as we go through the D23 Expo. And again, my general hypothesis here is that this will be especially I know we have a primarily Star Wars audience focused listener base here by nature of the podcast content, but I do think since there is no Star Wars celebration this year, and at least not until next April in Tokyo, that there is a good chance that there's some good Star Wars content to be coming out of this, or at least stuff from Lucasfilm, because there really isn't another opportunity to announce stuff like this in front of a large fandom audience of like-minded individuals until then. So this presents a great opportunity for them, and I know that this is kind of the format that they've kind of been looking to get towards at some point. I know celebrations have been yearly for a large degree to at a certain point here, and I think they've wanted to get to this every other year model for a while now, with the D23 and then a Star Wars celebration, a D23 Star Wars celebration, so that information, it doesn't need to be piecemeal, and they have every year at least a marquee opportunity to announce new projects and things that are happening and going on here. But anywho, I'm really thrilled to have Matt on the show. I've been a big fan of his TikTok content, and he's also Instagram as well. And he's always in the parks and finding out new adventures and doing new things, and just an all-around great person. So I'm really happy to have him on the show and to chat about all the things that we're expecting. Now, of course, this is a preview show, so I want to give everyone that kind of heads up that, like, we're throwing out a lot of speculation. We're throwing spaghetti against the wall with our ideas, and it's okay if it doesn't stick, right? This is purely just us having fun, geeking out, and thinking through logically what could or could not happen potentially at the D23 Expo. And if you're all in the area, feel free to reach out too, and maybe we can interact or meet up in some way. I don't know. I'll be on the convention floor, and I'd love to get the chance to meet any listeners of the show in some way, shape, or form. So again, follow us on the social media forums, or platforms, I should say, and then that's how we can stay in contact, of course, over the next couple of days. Now, at the time of this release, the convention will be the following Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like I said, August 9th, 10th, 11th. That this is the timeliness of this episode, of course, but I did pre-record this conversation as well as the just general this section of the podcast too, right? The Cloud City Gossip. So again, because it is pre-recorded, I have no idea what the news is, but so again, there is no Cloud City Gossip in this portion of the podcast where we usually would be. I did talk to Matt though, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation here about our predictions and expectations for the D23 Expo. But he'll be also coming back on sometime after the convention to kind of talk through what actually was announced and talk about all the things that he did at the convention, the things that I did, and between the two of us, I think we'll have a wonderful conversation again about what actually happened. It'll be fun to compare it to our predictions and see how wrong or correct we were on different things. A wonderful way for us to just geek out again about the fun stuff that we enjoy in this fun Disney space that is also subheading over everything Lucasfilm as well. So with that, folks, I want to get into our conversation here. So just on the other side of this short break, we'll be back with our conversation, the D23 preview show. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations. And I am thrilled to really just have a wonderful conversation here. If you are into the Star Wars fandom and all that, you probably are aware that there is an expo, a convention, all things of celebrating the Disney brand is coming up soon called D23. It is the place to be for all things Disney, Lucasfilm, Marvel, National Geographic, Pixar, anything parks, lots of park stuff is going to be announced. All of that is going to be taking place at the upcoming D23 Expo. And because I think there's going to be a large Star Wars presence here, I wanted to make sure that we covered this in a speculative way in the on this podcast before this thing comes out. I will be there, and I also have a guest here today that will also be at the D23 convention. You may have seen this gentleman's TikToks about the Disney parks, about his experiences and fun that he has in around Walt Disney World. Sometimes he goes to Disneyland too, I see as well. You may know him from TikTok as Matt Hungry Again, but we have, of course, Matt Richardson. Well, Matt, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my friend? And thanks again for hopping on this podcast here to chat about D23.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to geek out about D23. This is going to be my first time there, so I'm just like especially pumped for this.
Me too. It'll be my first time too. I was there for Star Wars Celebration in 2022, which was my first time to the Anaheim area itself and Disneyland and all of that. And now to see it in a completely different light with the D23 Expo, I can't wait to see how it's just completely revamped into a different thing and celebrating this awesome fandom that we get to be a part of. And that's where I kind of want to start is with your fandom here. I want to get a foundation for that before we really get into our ideas about what's going to happen at this convention here. So what is the first Disney movie experience that you can remember? And also, if you can remember, what was your first time going to the parks like?
So as a kid, I have like very vague memories of the older Disney animated features like Fantasia and Dumbo. But I think the first Disney movie that I really took in as a whole was Little Mermaid. I was an 80s
Mm-hmm.
baby. And so the Disney Renaissance was probably, I was the prime age for that. And so
Yeah,
I remember seeing the Little Mermaid. I remember talking about it. I remember we were singing the songs all the time. So that's where I kind of got kicked off with a Disney passion. That only lasted a few films before I kind of grew out of it for a little while. And then I jumped back in as a Disney adult about, I don't know, 15 years ago or so.
love it, love it, love it. Um, the Little Mermaid is a favorite in our household. It's one of my wife's favorite movies. We did the ride at Disneyland, the Little Mermaid Voyage Journey. It's called something like the Joy Journey of the Little Mermaid, I believe. And boy, did her eyes light up in a way I've never seen before in my life. And of course, we have it here at Walt Disney World too in our backyard. But seeing that for the first time in her eyes was just a truly tremendous experience there. And do you remember the first time you went to a Disney park? Was it maybe in your when you rediscovered your Disney fandom, perhaps?
So yeah, so I did we did go as a family. So I grew up outside of Philadelphia. We made at least a couple trips down to Disney World, and I have memories of Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain. I remember Epcot really well, Captain EO, Figment. So these are, but it's all a blur to me, all of
Sure,
those
sure.
memories. It wasn't until about 10 years ago when my husband and I were in Florida for other reasons, and we were like, hey, why don't we go to Disney World and see what's going on there? And that's when I kind of realized, oh yeah, this is kind of the thing for me. And then I got like really into Disney parks for from then on. So the past 10 years I've been going many times every year, not only in Florida, but in
Yeah.
California. And also we've been to Tokyo Disney, Disneyland Paris, and Shanghai Disney. So the only one I haven't done is Hong Kong
Ooh,
so far.
ooh, one more on the list. Is it
Yeah.
anytime soon a plan for that?
So I might have a work trip to Shenzhen, which is very close to Hong Kong in December.
Yeah.
So I am hoping I did this last year, and I was on the boat from Shenzhen to the airport, the Hong Kong airport, and I could see the island that Disneyland
Mhm.
was on, and I was like, why I didn't plan this better so that I could do Disneyland
Oh my
to
gosh.
Hong Kong Disneyland. And so this year I have that same work trip. I'm hoping I can make the dates work out. So I got a little extra time in Hong Kong, and then I'll do Hong Kong Disneyland and then check that final one off my list.
Oh, don't you just love when like work takes you to places where you just automatically like you don't have to do a separate trip there. Work is already paying for most of it to get you out there. You know, you can eat on their dime a bit, stay in their hotels, and just one day mosey on over there.
Yeah, I am the luckiest Disney adult in the world. I travel a ton for work, so even if work doesn't travel me there, I also have the airline miles that can
That
get me
too.
there too
That
if I
too.
want to make my own trip.
Absolutely, I hear that. Oh my gosh! And of course, a fellow Pennsylvanian on this call here. I did not know this. I am originally from the Hershey area myself,
Oh,
so
wonderful! I
uh,
grew up in Westchester,
perfect.
Pennsylvania, Chester County. So we've been to Hershey a bunch, that area. So yeah.
I used to work at Hershey Park, so
Oh, fun,
I used to be a
fun.
costume character myself. So if
That's awesome.
any of the listeners, perhaps if you've been to Hershey Park circa 2013 to 2016, you may have taken a picture with me and not have known it. But
Are you allowed to tell us what you were?
yeah, so it was based off of height. So any given
Okay.
day, I could have been the Hershey bar, I
Mhm.
could have been Reese, I could have been Kit Kat, Payday, a Take Five, Jolly Rancher, or Twizzler. I could have been
Ooh.
any number of those.
And did you have a favorite?
Yeah, so Reese was my favorite because he had his own dance party at the time. So it was Reese and like five other characters, and Reese would that was the person people wanted to see. So everybody else was kind of just dancing off, doing their thing, and just I didn't even have to fight like people. Like so, if you're let's say you're like a Payday bar, right? You're doing a lot of work to get people to like interact with you at that point. But when you're Reese, you don't have to do
Oh,
anything. They're coming right up to you,
you're
taking
the belle of
pictures.
the
You
ball.
can take all these selfies with people. Exactly. It was a blast, and of course you're dancing to music at the same time. You're getting that cardio workout in. If it's a hot day, they would reduce the time frame limit, so you'd only be out there for like 15 minutes at a time. Go back in the AC for an hour and a half, and come back out. It was a great time.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. That would be so much fun.
It truly was. It was a great way to spend summers when you're off from high school and college and all that. It was a great way to make some money and do just some wacky stuff on the side. I'll tell you that. So prior to this year, what was your knowledge of or familiarity with the D23 Expo?
So I would see D23 bubble up for me when the parks panel, the Disney Parks and Experiences panel would happen. I would see those announcements come through across my feed online, and then it started to raise my consciousness about what D23 was about, and then
Mm-hmm.
I was much more in tune with it, and then I would start to watch at least the streaming panel for Parks and Experiences because I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
always just like dying to know how things were going to change. I really wanted to know from them. I hated hearing about all just all there's all those rumors floating around about what's going to happen, and I think a lot of those rumors are like built on hope and not on like reality. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm very much like I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. So I would basically tune out all rumors and wait for someone like Josh D'Amaro to get up there and tell me what they're going to do or what they want to do.
Yep. I'm curious. Did you perhaps watch the 22 Expo
Yeah.
on streaming? Okay, and I assume you watched the Parks panel too
Yep.
in that time. If I remember correctly, there was a lot of blue sky, what they called it, theories that they were putting out. How did that make you feel? Because that was basically them just rumoring out on stage there instead of like confirming this is exactly what we're gonna do.
So I think it's a blessing and a curse, right? So
Okay,
we
yeah.
are lucky as fans that Disney tells us so much of what they're thinking about, right?
Yeah.
They give us they tell us so far in advance, and they don't have to do that, right?
Sure,
They could
sure.
keep things absolutely secret, but we get to hear about the things they're playing with.
Mm,
The curse here is though is it sets our expectations way out of whack. We think that a blue sky thought, a blue sky idea is a promise,
yeah.
and we because again hope we want those things that they're talking about. They do such a good job talking about them, painting a picture of what the experience could be like,
Mm,
that it sets our expectations so out of whack that when the reality comes along and the budget, is where the rubber meets the road, and it's not doesn't quite live up to the sort of blue sky thing they promised. And they do a good job of explaining what they mean when they say blue sky. But
yeah.
basically, what I think a lot of people do is they then ignore that because they're so excited about what these ideas are,
Mm,
and they just want them and hope for them. So the hard part here is to kind of keep expectations tempered a little bit, get excited about
mm.
that really vivid idea, that immersive experience they're talking about, but sort of to temper expectations. And I think managing and tempering those expectations is a really hard thing to do. Bottom line, we're very, very lucky that
Yeah.
Disney even tells us what they're thinking about, because they don't have to do that.
That's right. Transparency is a good thing, especially with a large conglomerate corporation like the Walt Disney Company. Like, again, you're right. They don't have to tell us anything. They could just
Yeah,
say, "Great, here's what you get," and be happy with
right.
it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
So I love it. I love hearing the blue sky stuff. I really, really do. But even for myself, I have to like calm myself down a little bit and
right,
understand that we may not get it. We may not get it at all,
that's true.
and we may not get it the way we expect it to be, the way they describe it. They're very good at painting a beautiful picture of what something's going to be like.
I hear you on that one. Like the phrase that we say around here a lot is "speculate responsibly,"
Yes. Okay.
and I
Yeah.
think that one works exactly in this situation where again it's like okay, I think they announced like a Mary Poppins ride
Right.
potentially like maybe 8 years ago now, 7 years ago, and still haven't heard anything on that one. If that's
Right.
still in the pipeline at all, and and like I always say to people, like in the just in creative industry, things can change, right? Yeah, if
Yeah.
you have an idea today and you work through it, like who knows if it'll be something that's even viable once you explore that idea further
Right.
tomorrow. And they're creative people. They're allowed to change their ideas or get excited by something else. Or sometimes the reality you're a working man. The realities of work sometimes get into the play here, right? The budget isn't there. The constraints of construction aren't there. A whole pandemic happened, you're right. All these things can get in the way. So it is beautiful to think about the possibilities of what tomorrow could be, and it's also okay if it doesn't come to fruition sometimes in the way that it was intended to, or if it never actually happens at all.
Right. And when you're talking about a creative endeavor, better to lay back and think big, think creative, think boldly, and
Hmm.
have to kind of walk that back, as opposed to not even having the ambition in the first place. Because
Yeah.
the Disney parks would not look anything like they do now if there wasn't that really strong ambition in the first place. That's sort of like,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
can try, we're going to reach for that impossible goal. We'll get as far as we can to get there. And I think just like a director who is directing actors, they want them to really throw everything out there so that they can walk back a little bit. It's a little
Hmm.
easier to walk something back as opposed to trying to take something that's not there and make more out of it. It's not possible.
Yes.
So we're
Yes.
lucky that they have that the blue sky philosophy. We're lucky that they really think boldly in the beginning. That makes the biggest difference.
I here seconded everything you just said there, my friend. And I think too, yes, ending what you just said there. Walt gave them the best mission statement ever, right? These parks, Disneyland is never finished, right? These parks at large also are never finished, right? And I think that one of the best things about the ideas of Imagineering is that change is okay.
Right.
Just because something was there maybe opening day or very darn close to it doesn't mean that it couldn't be improved, updated, culturally, it could also have some
Right.
significant improvements. Like we change as a society, rides are okay to be updated too based off of that, and never be too precious with ideas or just be stuck in nostalgia because you could hinder yourself from the realities of what tomorrow could possibly be again if you limit yourself with those means.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Imagineering is a tough job, right? They
Yes.
they have new technology, new abilities, new ways of telling stories, changing consumer preferences. cultural changes that are happening,
Yeah.
and then you've got these people also who are very nostalgic for the way things used to be. It's hard to manage. I don't envy that. I don't envy them. Although I would love to be an Imagineer. That aspect of it sounds really hard.
I'll say I would. I don't know if I'd love to be an Imagineer. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in Imagineering, without having to get the engineering degree and all the work that comes with that, and the math. The math is
Right.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just some. It's again, it's a great thing at a park like Disneyland, for example, right, where you have the Matterhorn, right? This almost 80-year-old ride, this roller coaster that is tremendously put together. That still functions very well to this day. And then you right, have you seen the video of that of Lanny Smoot, the engineer, Imagineer, that's on like the walking path where he
The
stands
the
in place.
tiles.
Yeah, the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, what does this even mean for the world? I don't even. my brain can't even fathom it, let alone to create a story around this thing. And
Right.
this is the trajectory right here. You went from bobsleds in a mountain to walking in place. And what can this mean for the world and storytelling? I don't know, but I'm glad that there are people in a position to figure this out for me, and I get to
Yeah.
reap the benefits of it.
Yeah, and another great example of something they don't have to share with us, and they share it,
Yeah, exactly.
and they tell us about it, and they're excited about the technology. I'm excited about the technology, so I love that they share that stuff with us. Those innovations, they do a lot of work there, and I love that.
I agree. I agree. And I hope they share a lot of that more at the D23 Expo this year. And I want to talk about the format of how they're going to do the convention this year, which is slightly different from conventions in the past. So the big panels of the day, aka, will be marquee events in the evening, actually, at the local hockey arena, the Honda Center. What do you think of this change? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you have any thoughts on this? How you feeling about it at this point?
For me, it's good, because I had heard about being at D23 meant a lot of maybe 3 a.m., 4 a.m. waiting, to get into a panel to get a seat, or a
Yeah.
lot of just for me, any situation where there is scarce supply and high demand, the anxiety in me kicks up. I go into survival mode,
Hmm.
and I've got to get into that room. Even, it just, for me, it just gives me way too much anxiety. I didn't like the idea of going to D23 under those circumstances where you were fighting against it. I have a D23 ticket that has a seat number on it now
Yeah.
for those panels that puts me at complete ease. I
Hmm.
feel so much better about it now that I know there's a seat waiting for me. I don't have to worry about how many people are trying to get in versus capacity there.
Yeah.
Of course, the downside is it's a little far away from the Anaheim Convention Center. It's not right there, but they're going to be busing us and everything. So I'm sure that'll work out fine. I hope that'll work out fine. We'll see. It'll be the first time they're doing it. But, I just, it'll cut into some time, but, I think it'll be worth it if we all can relax a little bit about getting into
Yes.
those major panels, right?
Yes, I agree. I think, of course, there'll be some growing pains. So that Friday night might be a little bit of a where's everything, but one Saturday and Sunday for sure, it'll be all hashed out. And I'm excited what this opportunity presents for the future of conventions. Um, because at Star Wars Celebration, which took place at the same convention center in 2022, and they've done the same thing for Celebration last year in London. They basically did a day-to-day lottery of the big panel of the day, where certain people would get notified a week out if they were got in or not. And if you got in, then you wouldn't have to line up at 3 a.m. That was the only people that got in. You showed your ticket, you were good to go, you got in. Now, the problem with that is you didn't know until a week beforehand. So your planning was like, I don't know if I should go to this panel. I should go to this panel. Am I going to be at that panel at the same time? It's hard to plan as a person, or at least for me, that likes to know my full day ahead of time so I can like plan what I'm eating, plan a snack here and there. You don't know when your day is kind of upended by that. Which was, it's a pleasant surprise to be notified that you're going to a big panel that's going to potentially have like Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and all these other people in there. But again, at the same time, there's that stress of you don't necessarily want to have when you're kind of on vacation trying to enjoy yourself at these conventions. So I like that aspect of it. And plus, the Honda Center, it's a larger venue. You can get more people into there. That can fill probably at least 15,000 comfortably, depending on where they're putting the stage at for this thing. Like most concerts probably can fit 15,000 in it. Unless they do like an in the round thing, they probably do 20. But I think the way that they've set it up is towards like a normal concert venue, basically, where the stage is at one end of the venue and then the rest of it is around it. I like that. I'm one of those people. I didn't get a ticket. I'm perfectly fine with that. I got a ticket for D23, but not for the Honda Center events at night, and I'm totally fine with that too. And that allows me to plan my evenings accordingly as well too. So I know they're going to live stream some of these. I'll see the trailers that come out for the new shows. It's okay that I'm not in the room. I can go hang out in downtown Disney and still be amongst the fans and people, and talk to them and hear about their experiences with the park. And maybe they went to a panel I didn't get to. So it's at the end of the day, it's okay. And I'm actually more thrilled that this is a thing that they're going to be doing, and hopefully they institute in the future if it's very successful.
Yes, certainty is valuable. Knowing what your plan is, what you're going to do. For it sounds like for people like you and me, this is something we put
Yes.
a high value on. Knowing what your plan is, knowing what you're able to do, not to, and not have a question mark on something. Oh, I hope I can maybe get into that, and if not, my backup plan is this, and if not, then
Mm-hmm.
this. And because you feel like, um, you know, you start worrying about the choices you make and the things you do. You blame yourself for not getting there early enough or something, and it's a terrible
Yes.
feeling.
Yeah,
It
you're
can
like,
really cut
what if I'd
into.
woken up 15 minutes
Yeah,
earlier?
right.
Oh my gosh.
That anxiety I hate. So the certainty is that certainty makes a big difference.
And I'll tell you what, again, it's not great that, people, for security reasons, it's not great to have people in a convention hall lining up or outside of a venue at 3 a.m.
Right,
So there's some
right.
security reasons for that too. But also, I kind of want to sleep. I value my
Yeah,
sleep as well. I want to sleep in as long as I can until I absolutely need to be up sometimes. And if I'm up at 3
same.
a.m. and you're sleeping on the hard surface of a floor, like, I'm going to be grumpy the rest of the day. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how fun that panel is in the morning. I'm going to pay for it later on. If not by just my grumpiness or grogginess, but my back also might be hurting as well from sleeping in a stiff position.
Right, absolutely. We have it pretty good, I think, with for this being our first year. We didn't suffer the
Yes.
previous D23s.
Exactly. A nice comfy seat at the Honda Center will be a
Yeah.
wonderful way to cap off every evening here for this convention. And speaking of capping off the convention, the Sunday night is where the kind of the last big marquee panel of this. Of course, we're kind of going out of order, folks, here, but you'll understand why in a bit here. And this last one is the Disney Legends ceremony. And I'm curious, Matt, who, if any, among these star-studded people that are being honored this year, are you most excited to see receive this award, walk up on stage, give a little thank you to everybody, and to just celebrate them and their accomplishments?
As someone who likes Disney parks, I have to say Joe Rohde is
Yeah,
top of my list there.
yeah.
He retired from Imagineering a few years ago, but now I guess he's doing something else now.
Nobody's
So
ever gone.
yeah, and so first of all, he deserves the honor. He truly is like embodies the idea of a legend who's had such an impact on Disney parks. He's an interesting guy, and I think also I just really respect his. Um, I respect the way he respects source material, culture, respects the sort of beginnings of the things he works on, the research process. When anytime you hear him talking about anything, whether it's the way Animal Kingdom was built or the way they overhauled or reskinned Hollywood Tower of Terror at California Adventure to become Mission Breakout, it's a very thoughtful and methodical way he has of working creatively, and I admire that. So I'm so excited to see him, and he absolutely deserves it.
100% yes on that front. Joe Rohde is the man. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know about you, Matt, but I often find myself rewatching the Imagineering story on Disney
yeah,
Plus very frequently, especially those episodes with him. And you mentioned Mission Breakout out in California. At the same time, he's working on Pandora. How is this man
amazing.
doing two amazing projects at the same time? Just mind-boggling how it's even possible. And of course, the father, if you will, of Animal Kingdom. Like, this, that doesn't exist if it's not for Joe Rohde. Just
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah,
incredible
he's a
work.
incredible Imagineer, really, really incredible Imagineer. I really, really admire his work, and yeah, it'll be cool to see him.
Absolutely, I think he'll get a nice hearty applause from the crowd, especially amongst Disney fans and people that know and love his work. All they need to say is this is the guy that put Animal Kingdom together, and that should get the whole
Yeah,
crowd up, standing and applauding, standing ovation for that one.
right.
I'd be remiss on a Star Wars podcast if I didn't say I was super excited to see Harrison Ford,
Yeah,
Han Solo, and Indiana Jones, of course, receive his flowers, if you will. Frank Oz, of course,
Yeah.
another Star Wars alum, and Muppets, near and dear to my heart.
Little Shop of Horrors. What About Bob? Two movies I really like, so it's excited to see that him get that honor.
You know, it's funny. I have never seen What About Bob, and I've
Oh,
heard so many great things about it. Like my wife's family watches it almost every year somehow at the beach house that we go to, and I have yet to see it. I don't know what happens. I just keep missing it. Whatever reason, I think Richard Dreyfuss is in it too, and I love him in both Jaws and Close Encounters. I don't know. So I might need to change this year.
yes. Yes, absolutely. This What About Bob had like a cultural impact on me and my brothers. It really did.
Interesting.
It just the humor just hit perfectly. I think
Amazing.
like it's kind of like, just the same way like Groundhog Day kind of had that
Sure.
cultural impact.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's one I'll have to definitely check off
Yeah.
my list this year. And I believe is John Williams also doing?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
oh my
I'm not
gosh. This
I
man
mean,
is still moving at 91.
and I can't believe he doesn't already have the
Well, that's
legend. That was the thing that surprised. He doesn't already have this award.
uh, also yes. How did this man not? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess his work technically wasn't in the Disney canon
Right.
until Star
Star
Wars and
Wars.
Indiana Jones
Yeah.
now is a part of
Yeah.
this larger lexicon. But they should have just given it to him anyways.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's John Williams.
Yeah.
Um, I hope now. I don't know if this will happen or not, but at Celebration in 2022, I did get the lottery into one of the big panels there, and that was when they were kind of promoting Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which came out last year, and they brought out John Williams to do a performance. So he performed 3 songs there with the I think the local Orange County orchestra. So
Oh,
fingers
wonderful.
crossed. You never know if this man wants it. They may have an orchestra up on stage that just appears out of nowhere, and you might be treated to one of the best concerts of your life. You never know.
That's great. But I suppose they're not going to do the Jurassic Park theme.
Probably not. Probably not. But again, having seen that one I've seen that one with orchestra to the film, in a live setting, and that was incredible. So if
Oh,
you ever get that
yeah,
chance, as a
I
fan,
would
a
love.
fellow fan of the Jurassic World and the parks, give me that park. Oh, well, that's a different
Yeah.
park actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so we talked about Sunday. Friday will be the entertainment side of things, your Disney Plus, your films, and of course we have no idea what they're going to be talking about. I surmise maybe Agatha all along might have a trailer or something like that, and I saw that came out today, so I'm like, I have no idea what they're doing. I thought you'd wait for that to your big convention, but who am I? I don't know marketing. I'm not a marketing professional. But I gotta think at this point they may have a trailer or some special look at the upcoming Mufasa film, Moana 2, perhaps the new live action Snow White with Rachel Zegler, maybe even some Tron Ares. Um, of any of those, Matt, which gets you the most excited, and would you maybe like to see a trailer for?
Well, so if I like Catherine Hahn, so I would love to see her if there's some sort of
Yeah.
Agatha all along happening. I would love to see a Catherine Hahn as Agatha there. Um, I love the first Moana, so anything Moana related, love to see that. And then I have I know not everyone is into the live action versions of animated films, but there's something I really like about the art of creating a live action film as opposed to creating an animation. So I am very interested in live action Snow White. I'm excited about that.
Me too. Me too. You're in good company here. I have been a big fan of everything that they've done in terms of the live action sense. Again, they're not the same movies. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
them can be very much similar, but again, even something like The Lion King, right? The work that went into it to create those not photorealistic animals. Again, the technology behind the scenes blows my mind. I tried to watch a documentary on it, and I couldn't even fathom what they were doing.
Yeah, that's incredible to me, and the artistic choices they take to adapt the work, the
Mhm.
animated work, is just to me is really interesting. I'm intrigued by that. When you're working on a live action film, I went to film school and I have an
Oh yeah.
appreciation for what goes into creating something live action. I have a lot of respect for animation as well, but when it is practical sets and effects and costumes and performances by actors that you're seeing on their faces, there's something about that I just really love. I really love seeing that. So that's kind of why I get excited about that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. I gotta ask you, Matt. Let's say in the near future, Snow White is a big hit, the live action one. Let's say, I think it comes out March this year or next year, technically. Um, let's say it's a massive success. We're talking $1 billion box office plus. Is there any part of Imagineering or anybody within the Walt Disney Company that could potentially think of retheming Seven Dwarves Mine Train to reflect the new film, or is that too much of a out there idea potentially, or will the money help to dictate that change?
So I think Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, the way it is pretty good. I think
Yeah.
we did pretty good in terms of it being mild thrill for families. Really, the animatronics in there aren't perfect, but still really good on the kind of the leading edge of what we see when we see animatronics. Um, I think we all still, I think Disney still kind of has to cherish the animated versions of these characters.
Hmm.
And so I think Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is a great sort of tribute to the animated version. So I wouldn't like that wouldn't be my guess to do that.
Okay.
I would say to keep Seven Dwarfs Mine Train as a nod towards the animated version of the film.
Okay. I think we're probably right on that one. I think because it's so much in intertwined with that first animated feature that they did and all of that. Probably not. But as a fundraiser, that's my day-to-day job for a university. We always have this like, all right, well, what's the threshold that we need to reach in order
Right.
to rename this building? How can someone be outbought here if we want to rename this venue here? And maybe they have that number in their head. If it
Yeah.
becomes the top selling, let's say it beats Avatar, right? And then maybe that'll force their hand. But it's gonna be tough to beat Avatar just in general.
Yeah, but they have an issue. Don't they have an issue with face character? So if you have an actress portraying a character as a
Hmm.
face, their likeness is a little bit more difficult to deal with when it comes to an attraction, a theme park. And I don't know the legalities of that, but I
Potentially.
hear that that kind of becomes a little bit of a prickly spot, right?
Yeah, it could potentially be a thing. I don't know how they do it, but Disney's
Yeah,
got money. They'll figure
yeah,
it
they'll
out if they
figure it
really
out.
want to. They pay Daisy Ridley enough and John
Yes,
Boyega for
yes,
Rise of the Resistance. So if
that's right.
they really want to,
That's right.
Uncle Bob Iger can figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Everyone has
speaking
a
of
price.
exactly, everyone got that right. Speaking of parks, which I know is your kind of bread and butter, so I'm excited to dive into this conversation deeply here. The Saturday, the marquee, if you will, of D23, which I think has been really built up at this point based off of what I've been hearing from people within the company, Josh Damara himself, everybody. I think this is going to be the largest presentation of the bunch. Frankly, even dominating this year's conversation at the convention. So, as an avid parks visitor, what do you think are the quote unquote sure bets that you think will be announced this year? Like the stuff that basically are like, that's a no brainer. They're going to do that.
Well, so they left us with some cliffhangers, and we talked about this a little bit. This sort of these big blue sky ideas that they kind of seeded, and Disney knows about setting expectations with people, right? And
Yeah.
so they're going to have to say some things and give us a little bit more details on some things that they've talked about or things we know are happening or there's motion towards. Now, I was thinking about this recently and I was like, well, I was in Animal Kingdom as a matter of fact, and I was in
Sure.
Dinoland USA looking around,
You were
and
thinking ahead.
yeah, Primeval Whirl has been gone for a long time. That
Hmm.
space is just fenced off. It looks bad. And we know they have plans to sort of rethink this as a tropical Americas
Yeah.
area. We have really not a lot of details. We got some teases here and there, little hints that Indy might be, I don't know if we know for sure, but I think they basically
Yeah.
hinted that dinosaur is going to become Indy, which I think is a good thing. But I don't think we know much more, how much Encanto it is, or Coco or whatever.
Hmm.
But I think people are hungry for details on that. I think people are hungry for details on the Beyond Big Thunder
Hmm.
hints that they dropped or what they started talking about. That whole space beyond Magic Kingdom to me is especially exciting to hear about, because I think we are very lucky to have the most visited theme park in the world
Yeah.
here at Disney World, and also one that is just got so much great classic attractions in it. When I hear about expanding it, I'm very excited. I want that to stay as like the top, because I'm a pass holder and I love Magic Kingdom.
Exactly.
So I think they not owe us, but like
Oh,
there's a little bit of unsaid. There's a little bit of blanks to be filled in when it comes to
yeah.
Beyond Big Thunder, how they're expanding Magic Kingdom, and then also the sort of, I think we're also waiting for answers on what Disneyland Forward is going to look like, or
Yes.
where they're at. I think at this stage, I think maybe we might hear some blue sky stuff around Disneyland Forward, or maybe they're going to bring some clarity to rumors that are out there. I don't know.
Mhm.
What have you heard?
So I definitely think that aside from just the Pandora picture they keep throwing up, or Uncle Bob
Right.
talks about in interviews when he's talking about Disneyland Forward, he keeps showing that same imagery of concept art for this slightly different Pandora, kind of more in line of what the Avatar Way of Water is like, with a more water infused space for their Pandora at Disneyland Forward. Again, I think that they have to tell more about Disneyland Forward on that one. If nothing else, then just to clarify what they mean by Pandora, instead of just showing some concept art.
Right.
Um, you're 100% right on both clarification on Beyond Big Thunder, whether that be, I've heard you probably have heard the rumors too about Radiator Springs potentially, Woody's.
I didn't hear
You have
Radiator Springs.
not? Okay, yep.
No.
So that's in the room. Again,
Huh.
listeners at home, speculate responsibly here. I've heard potentially Radiator Springs, Woody's new kind of shoot 'em up adventure out there as well. That kind of makes sense in the frontierlandness of it
Yeah.
all. Or people have also speculated on a villains area out there, which I think is kind of works for a Magic Kingdom park, right? The fantasy land is kind of imbuing those fantasy epic adventures, and a villains could be a great way to incorporate some of that imagery back into the park as well. I think also Animal Kingdom is in dire need of figuring out, or at least telling us what they're doing there. I know I've seen on Twitter that they've posted, um, they or not they've posted. I've seen people post that they have applied for the permits to start making the move right away. So that might be the first thing that goes into
Yeah.
place once they actually announce something formally. If they, I'll be there opening day. If Indiana Jones Adventure, Temple of the Forbidden Eye comes to Walt Disney World, I will be there every day that week afterwards in order to ride that ride nonstop. It's one of my favorite rides, my favorite action hero ever. Of course, it's part of the Lucasfilm family. Indiana Jones is very near and dear to my heart for many reasons. Will absolutely love having him in a more, I love the stunt show. So let's get more Indy in the parks, is what I say. And I'm going to Paris in September, and I
Oh,
can't wait to ride the Temple of Peril coaster that they've got there.
yep.
That's like top of my list to do over there. So again, more Indy, Encanto, Coco, whatever they want to put in that same area there. Give me all of that. I think that's a brilliant way to update. Rest in peace, Dinosaur and Dino Land. You've
Yeah.
you've lived a long life. You've lived over 25 years. It's okay. Time to change and move on and get some of that stuff updated. I think it's also time, as much as I hate to say it, for A Bug's Life, the Tree of Life.
Yeah.
Time for Zootopia to come in there and give some much needed oomph to that space as well. And I'm going to Paris, so I was thinking about that. I want some more details on Disney Adventure World, whatever they're going to do over there. Some more details on Frozen. I think they've said maybe Tangled. Space. I've heard
Right.
rumors of another Galaxy's Edge over there as well. Just some more concrete details about that and what that could entail for them over there. So I think that's where I kind of align on that one. Very similar to what your thoughts are on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say, like, I'm really hoping generally that we do get anything more Coco and Encanto, because those worlds are so vivid, and I think they
Yeah.
lend themselves to experiences. And I just think we're primed to get, I think, some really great experiences in the parks in those worlds, in the world of Encanto and Coco, both separately, just distinct. If you go to Mickey's PhilharMagic and
Yes.
you see the added Coco scene, it is stunning, and it's like, that's my favorite part of PhilharMagic right now, and it's like, I want more of that world. Take me there, bring me there. That's it's incredible.
So, listeners, we talked offline, and I was actually in Magic Kingdom yesterday, and I took my wife to see PhilharMagic for the first time as well, and
Oh,
her brain again exploded at how awesome this whole thing was. I was like, the best kept secret in the park here, Elise.
yes.
You got to see this. And of course, she loved The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, of course,
Yeah.
the stuff that she grew up with as well. And just to see the audience, right? Just to see what the kids gravitated to is a very interesting thing. And of course, with Coco, that was the most recent thing probably for a lot of them that they've seen. They seem to associate themselves a lot with that. they gravitated towards that. So I think maybe Disney also has to think potentially a bit forward about the next 20, 30, 40 years of the parks when those kids are older and they want to think nostalgically about their childhoods. They may have to think about, okay, an Encanto, a Coco. Those are probably some of the best shore, even an Inside Out now. They got to think
Right.
about how to incorporate that into the parks in some way a bit. Anything that's very successful film franchise that is doing super well on Disney Plus, and even Moana, now they finally got her in the parks with the Journey Through Water. All that stuff is going to be needed to be in the play, and I as a fan also of that stuff, not just the kids themselves, but as the kid inside me also loves seeing Coco and Encanto and all that stuff. I would love to go through the House Madrigal. Like that would
Yeah.
be a great way to spend an afternoon. Sign me up for that,
Absolutely.
or any
Absolutely.
way to see the. I actually think the speculative. This is more of the speculative big idea thing. We'll ask in a second here, but I will also think that maybe the Three Caballeros ride could be updated to more of a Coco
Right.
themed exhibit as well. But hey, who knows? That's for engineers to decide. But that's also for us to speculate about, Matt. So with this question here, I want to get super wild. Every idea is on the table. Nothing is off limits here, whether it be parks, food in the parks, cruise line, anything, frankly,
Hmm.
worldwide, Hong Kong, Paris, Shanghai, Walt Disney World, Disneyland. A new park. Who knows? If you want to throw a park up Washington, D.C., like they tried to do at one time, bring that idea back. Who knows? Josh Damaro, as we've kind of noted, has already promised amazing things from this convention and this panel specifically. So, what would you say are your biggest predictions that the Imagineering team could potentially announce for the parks? If you want to list off one, we can I think we should trade them off here. I don't know how many you've got. I've got a several list here. So give me your first one that you can think of here.
So when we think about predictions, what I was thinking about is what's going on right now, where are we at,
Yeah.
and for me, I realized Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is 5 years old
Yep.
right now, and in fact, the timing of this convention is between when it opened at Disneyland and when it opened at Hollywood Studios. Oh, unless I've had that reversed, but yeah, anyway, right between the two, and so I think, although people love Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and they had that try with Galactic Star Cruiser, a bit of a flop, I do think that there needs to be something that relates to how that's being enhanced, how that what the future for that looks like. And I can't say for sure what that looks like, whether that is another e-ticket if they can fit it in there,
Mm-hmm.
or I've always wanted, I just don't know why, I've always wanted a proper sit down table service dining experience. And one impossible prediction is that they take whatever work they did on bringing that to Galactic Star Cruiser and bringing that to parks visitors. So you make a reservation to go to a table, dine in Galaxy's Edge on Batu, rather than just having these quick services and whatever. I just think that, like, we're not done exploring what Star Wars Galaxy's Edge can be,
Right.
and I just want to see more development there.
Wow, you took my first one right from me
Oh,
here,
I'm
which was
sorry.
it is totally okay. We're allowed to steal each other's at this point. I agree. The sit down restaurant is exactly what is missing from Galaxy's Edge right now. Have you eaten at Woody's Roundup Barbecue?
Yep.
Perhaps I have not, unfortunately, but that is exactly what that Toy Story Land needed, was that thing to
Right.
complement everything else. And you see when you're in, I've seen the videos and you've experienced it yourself, the immersive atmosphere that happens when everyone's like, Woody's here, or Andy's here, and everyone
Right.
stops, and just the good food that goes along with the good times. You feel like you're a part of this immersive Toy Story interactive experience, which I think is ripe for Star Wars. This is the place where you are on Batuu. You are a part of the story. You're helping the Resistance out. You're flying the Millennium Falcon, and then go have your sit down meal where a waiter or waitress dressed in Star Wars cosplay garb comes out to you, gives you your drink, gives you your ribs or something like that, whatever they're selling at this restaurant, right? You get a Ronto wrap there. Who knows? Whatever, they'll figure it out. This is exactly what is missing, especially in an area where people spend a lot of time. They spend a lot of time at Galaxy's Edge for a variety of reasons, and get people to spend more time there by having a sit down restaurant. It just makes sense.
Absolutely. I haven't done the Galactic Star Cruisers. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos about it. It seems like there's a lot of work. Like, they're not just going to throw everything away, right?
Yeah.
They can't do that. They've got to get some value out of that. And I do think that there's got to be some way to take some value from what they've built up with the Galactic Star Cruiser to just bring it into something like a table service restaurant, some sort of performance people can see. There was, I think, when do you know, I'm gonna have a hard time describing where it is, but like there's sort of this blank area. It's between where the people can set up their R2 units and
Mm-hmm.
between where you get the bounties. And there's sort
Yep.
of, it was like, it was used as a stage for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, when they did the opening with, I think, Chewie and Ray had a little bit they would do up there, and they don't do that. And I think there was an idea that there was going to be a stage show there that could happen. And I think they could do, they could. There's just some blank spaces in Galaxy's Edge, and I would love to see just anything more, but especially a sit down ride. I love eating at Disney parks. I think a dining experience, a creative dining experience, would be a lot of fun.
Bar none, it would be one of the best experiences at Galaxy's Edge, and it would continue to push the boundaries of immersive storytelling. That I think, the Galactic Star Cruiser was a big swing. They swung for the fences, tried to hit that grand slam, and they might have hit a single, right? They had some success. They learned some things, and of course, unfortunately, ultimately, they shut it down for a variety of reasons. That's where I go with this first one here for me, is I think they should reopen it, not as the Galactic Star Cruiser, but keep just people already thought it's a Star Wars hotel. It probably still exists as, they probably haven't gutted it. I don't know what it looks like inside there, but repurpose it. Just make it the Star Wars hotel. Make it what people thought that it was going to be.
Right.
Reduce it down to $300 to $400 a night to stay at. Connect this offshoot a Skyliner to it. I don't know how people can transfer or have a direct shuttle to Galaxy's Edge, whatever shuttle that they had originally, and just have an a la carte menu of like activities inside there that people either outside the park can go to if they want to do like lightsaber training or play sabacc or go to the club or something, whatever stuff that they had in there. Just reopen it up and try to make it more affordable and user friendly for people, that anybody can enjoy it rather than people trying to be a part of a 2-night 3-day immersive experience. I think that would be a no-brainer because the space still exists. Every time I leave Hollywood Studios, I see the sign that's like Galactic Star Cruiser right this way, and I cry little tears. I'm like, oh, I almost got there, but too late. So I think that would be my kind of like big hope, is that they find some way to repurpose that building into something more useful for the future.
Yeah. There's something there. They're not going to just toss it in the trash. So yeah.
All right, Matt, what's the next one that you can think of?
So for me, my favorite ride of all time at Disney parks is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Yes, that's a great one.
In particular because of the ride system, the Omni Coaster. And this is the first time we've really seen, or for me, it was the first time I really saw like this type of ride experience and delivered so effectively along with narrative. I think they have a new way of telling stories with roller coasters with an Omni Coaster. Mm-hmm. Now, my question is, what does it look like if they take other IP and give it the Omni Coaster treatment? It doesn't have to be at the level of thrill that Cosmic Rewind is at, or it could go beyond the thrill of Cosmic Rewind. I don't know. Sure. But like, I just want to see them just explore that ride format more. If there was a family Omni Coaster that went through, the land of Coco, like that would be beautiful. Like you could do that. It could be fun. So that's kind of like my dream, because I think they've got a hit on Guardians of the Galaxy is a hit. And I think most of it is because of this sort of novel ride system that they use. And I'm not sure how familiar your listeners are going to be with this ride system, but if you haven't ridden it, you've got to experience. It's a roller coaster that also it tilts you and points you in the right direction to feel the right sensations. And it's not a regular roller coaster sensation. It really is as close as you're going to get to feeling like you're flying through space.
I'll say, unfortunately, our words it could never come close to like you have to experience it in order to understand what we're talking about here. So anybody go visit Walt Disney World right now. Book your flight tonight, go tomorrow, get that virtual queue or individual lightning lane for Cosmic Rewind, and hopefully you get September is your first song, because that's the way to introduce yourself to that ride. The good vibes of it all, and have a blast with it, because you'll want to ride it again immediately afterwards. You'll buy the next lightning lane for it, and hopefully you get one of the different songs. I 100% agree with what you're saying here, Matt. That would be wonderful. Coco with that same ride system. That would be incredible. I know Epic Universe is kind of trying to do that with Dark Universe, with the Wolfman ride that they're trying to do. That might be on the scary side. Let's keep it more family friendly here. And the PhilharMagic thing did a great job of showing this land of the dead that Coco was exhibiting here. And it'd be so beautiful. It would be vibrant, vivacious, the colors of it.
my gosh, if you're turned here, you see something new. You turn here, you see something. It would be a different ride every time. And I couldn't. Well, not only that, could you imagine if like the cart track is a different thing every time too? Not only
Right.
just looking around, you see different things, but if the cart
Right.
moves you, that'd be another way that they could create some magical experiences on that one. What do you think if that ride were to exist? Where would you want it to be placed within the park system?
I
Let's
haven't
assume
gotten
Walt
that
Disney World.
far. I haven't gotten that far in my idea. But if you had this sort of tropical America zone in Animal Kingdom, it could go there. I don't know how much space they have. Although I have heard Encanto and Coco mention when it came to Beyond Big Thunder as well. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that's still on the table, but possibly there. I mean,
Hey, who knows?
yeah. I mean, if an Omni coaster came to Magic Kingdom, I mean, Magic Kingdom will be the reigning supreme theme park for a very, very long time.
I mean, after riding Tiana's Bay Adventure, it might
Yeah.
already be the cream of the crop. Between that and Tron, I mean, you go
What we
both
got,
ends of the parks.
I know. You hear Disney Parks fans complain, and what we've got in the past few years is incredible between Tron and Tiana
Cosmic
and Cosmic
Rewind. Oh my
Rewind.
gosh.
Yes,
You
it's
know,
incredible. We're
every time
lucky.
we exactly 100%. Every time we ride a new ride, I talk to my wife and we're like, "What's your top 5 list?" And we'll list them off and I'm like, "You know what's interesting? Those rides all came out in the last like 5 years or so."
Right.
Like
We are lucky.
we're doing
We're
this is a great
yeah.
time to be alive, let's just say.
And you know what is like I've always wanted to visit Arendelle. Like Arendelle is
Yeah,
a beautiful location. It's not here in the US parks, but it is possible now to see what the Imagineers vision for what walking around Arendelle looks like, and I can't wait to eventually get to do that.
whether it be at Hong Kong or the eventual Disney Adventure World,
Yeah,
perhaps.
Paris maybe, I don't know. But we're lucky. We're very lucky.
Very lucky indeed. And I'm speculating here on another way to get even more lucky at Walt Disney World here, because I've heard rumor. I shared with you there's a rumor about Radiator Springs at Walt Disney World. I'm against that idea. Well, not against the idea at Walt Disney World. I'm against the idea at Magic Kingdom, because
Okay.
I want Radiator Springs and Cars Land added to Hollywood Studios. I think that Hollywood Studios is now becoming a land of franchise grand, these grand franchises where you immerse yourself in these stories, right? You have your Galaxy's Edge, you have your Toy Story Land, you have kind of Hollywood with Aerosmith and Tower of Terror. And if you add a Cars Land to that with Radiator Springs, perhaps a few other rides, give me the Cozy Cone. I don't want to have to fly across
Yep.
the country in order to get the Cozy Cone. Uh, that would be just a delight to me. And I think that would only improve Hollywood Studios for a variety of reasons, because it needs some more rides in order to move around people, so you're not waiting an hour plus in a line for a ride, or if something, heaven forbid, breaks down, and then it causes everything else to go up and wait times, like just to help out park capacity and to be a more family friendly thing. Aside from Toy Story, like Slinky Dog could use some help there with not getting up into the 90 and 100-minute wait
Yeah.
times for folks. A Radiator Springs would be awesome over there. I know they know how to do the system. It's basically test track again, just that same ride system. People love cars. Cars are awesome. Bring it over to Hollywood Studios and have a ball with it.
Can I tell you something about Radiator Springs Racers? Is that so for work, my job, I got to walk the track of Radiator Springs
You
Racers before it
did?
opened. Yes, we had a partnership with Disney when Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man came
Uh-huh.
out, and part of it was a contest for girls to create stuff with technology, and
Love it.
one of the prizes was an Imagineering tour of Disneyland. And
Oh,
I was working on this partnership, and I said to our Disney rep, "Do you mind if I go along on that too?" And they're like, "No, come on." And so I mean, they saw behind the scenes of the parade floats, the all kinds of stuff. But walking through Radiator Springs before it opened was the coolest
yes.
thing. I mean, it's such an incredible ride. First of all, just great ride. But then being able to walk through, see how they test the individual animatronics, how the mechanics work of everything, it gave me a whole new appreciation for an already incredible ride. So I'm with you. I love Radiator Springs Racers. I would love to see it at Disney World. I hope we
Now
do.
here's now here's the funny thing is I've actually never ridden Radiator Springs Racers, so this is
No
based
kidding.
purely off of me just enjoying the Cars franchise and wanting to see it in person at a different place, so I don't have to travel cross country to ride it again. I am going to make it a priority when I'm out there at D23. I'm going to a California Adventure that Thursday before the convention starts on Friday. I'm going to do park hopping. I'm going to go back and forth. I'm starting my morning, and I'm going to rope drop Radiator Springs Racers, because when we went in 2022, there was, of course, a fire on Radiator Springs Racers that shut the ride down for a week when we were intending to ride it. So unfortunately, we didn't get to do it at that time. And I'm going to rectify that. I'm going to get a cozy cone. It's going to rock. And again,
Good.
I have no doubt that's going to be amazing. Everybody has been hyping it up so much. Bring it to Walt Disney World. Let's share the love, everybody. Share the love.
I like that idea.
All right, Matt, you have another one to throw out here?
Yeah, so I have one more, and this is kind of along the lines of what I was saying about the Omni Coaster system, where they've got a great system and they can use it for something more. I also think one of the most popular rides, it's been around, I don't know how many years now it's been around, newish, is Flight of Passage. It's been around.
Yeah.
But people still love it. Standby wait times are still high. It's still a top demand ride at Animal Kingdom. My question is, and what I would ask Imagineers is, if you could take that ride system or a similar ride system and bring it to other IP, what could that look like? Now, I don't have a specific idea there, but they've got something so popular with Flight of Passage. There's gotta be a way that they can be using that ride system for something more. It's kind of all I got. This is, not much to work with, but I just want to see more in that sort of like high frame rate, really rapid 3D with all the sort of extra effects that really sell the feeling, that make you feel like you're flying. I mean, there's got to be ways we can use that, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, frankly, just pick any number of. I could, my brain immediately goes to like a Big Hero 6, right? A Baymax. You're riding Baymax, right? You're floating on a cloud and you're flying through. I can see it already. My brain is going off here, Matt. The Horizons building that is not being used at Epcot, repurpose that into some Big Hero 6 Baymax adventure through a body, right? You're learning about health and the heart and all that stuff. And and the pharmaceutical work that is being done, and doctors and how to save lives. I think that would be great. And of course, that ride system is perfect. So Soren walked so this could run.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going places, folks, with this incredible technology, and it's great to see the etymology of it go up to this point here.
Absolutely.
So I've got a few more here to cap us off, or to continue inspiring our conversation here. I've heard tell, and this is my biggest out there speculation. This is going to require a lot of money. I hear tell that a fifth gate is in the works at Walt Disney World. And I'm like, what could possibly fill up a fifth gate? What is so popular that could drive people to a fifth gate? And then I looked at my shelf of Blu-rays, and I realized that Disney has the largest film franchise of all time in an underutilized part of the world that is the most visited park, as you noted. Unfortunately, their rights are with another company. So what they're going to do is purchase back the rights to the Marvel. Characters, and that fifth gate will be finally Avengers Campus at Walt Disney World. Wherever it is, I don't know. Whatever rides they need to put in there to make it awesome and rock, they'll figure it out. Give us the Spider-Man web slingers. Give us the Avengers Flight Force that they have over in Paris. Throw in 1,000 other fun rides that they can figure out. All the character meet and greets and interactions. A brand new hotel right beside it to go along with it that's Marvel themed. A Marvel hotel, not an immersive 2-night, 3-day experience like the Star Cruiser, but anything like that. I think that could be the wonderful way that Disney could somehow compete with what Epic Universe is doing and staying up to date with all that while staying true to the Disney brand and what they've got going on there. What do you think about that, Matt?
I like it. I like it. So I'm a skeptic of the fifth gate rumor. The fifth gate rumor has been going on since Animal Kingdom opened, right? So it's made me pessimistic and skeptical about the fifth gate. So I'll put that out there. But if there were a fifth gate, I think people would love a Marvel fifth gate. I mean, I guess everyone has their price, and I'm guessing
Sure.
Universal has some price. Whether Disney could negotiate something there, I think is probably the critical bit, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's going to come down to price and negotiation. As also a Universal Pass holder, I think that I'm going to be very blunt about this. I think that some of the areas of Islands of Adventure could use a massive update because it did hit its 25th anniversary this year, and that Marvel section was one of the earliest parts of the park. And
Right.
as much as I love the Spider-Man ride, I know people love the Hulk. Some of that stuff could probably use an update. So once Epic Universe opens up and they're all set to go with that, I think they'll probably turn their attention towards Islands of Adventure and start to update some of that stuff a bit more once they get everything up and running. So maybe they'll be more amenable to the conversation once their third park opens up and they're not worried about competition with Disney anymore, because they're like, we've got this whole Dark Universe thing, we got How to Train Your Dragon, we got
Right.
another Harry Potter area, we're good to go. We got everybody's happy over here. You take your Marvel back, we're good to go. Who knows?
Yeah.
I
Who
think it's
knows?
a possibility. And this might be my hottest take of the day. I've got another
All
one
right.
here. Aside from Tron, Space Mountain, the Carousel of Progress, I think that Tomorrowland could use a
Tomorrowland.
bit of an overhaul.
Yeah.
I think that the former Stitch building could
Yeah.
use something in there. I as much as I loved Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters as a kid, it's a little outdated now. It could use a refresh. I've seen Tokyo is now employing the Wreck-It Ralph theme, which I think could prove some great promise over here if they want to incorporate that back over. Maybe even update the Monsters Inc. laugh floor, because that really doesn't make sense in Tomorrowland, in my opinion.
Right.
Anything like that basically that hallway getting into Tomorrowland could use a bit more of some love and care in order to bring it back to the foreminent area of it is in the park. Because right now, I spent all of yesterday in Adventureland and Frontierland. I had no reason to go across the pond, so to speak, if I didn't have my Tron Lightning Lane. So,
Right.
right. I think those are that might be the hottest take of the bunch here.
I like that. I like that because I love Tomorrowland. There's that's my vibe, right? Tomorrowland is my vibe, and I think Tron really raised the bar in terms of what our expectations are in Tomorrowland. And yeah, Buzz Lightyear's long in the tooth. I didn't even think about how Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor doesn't really even make sense there.
No.
And I know that the Stitch's Great Escape is like they'll use some of it as a flex space sometimes, I guess. But like, it would be lovely to see something there. There was that bit about the Disneyland Autopia going electric.
Yeah.
I could see
Bring it
at least
over.
that little enhancement coming. But I always kind of like thought that our Space Mountain, or I keep saying our, it's not ours, but like the Disney
much
World
is.
version of
Yeah.
Space Mountain, Tron is Shanghai's Space Mountain, and we now have our old Space Mountain and Shanghai's Space Mountain. But I still like the old Space Mountain, but I still kind of want a refresh of that too. That track's a little like maybe I'm getting older and I can't handle the curves and that anymore. But I would love to see a refresh of Space Mountain too.
We're on the same page with that one, because is the one in Disneyland, right? That's a lap down bar, 2-seater seat for Space Mountain, correct?
Yeah, 2x2. Yeah,
2x2, right? Instead of the bobsled 3x1 that they have in World, which again helps to add to that weird feeling that you're like, oh, I'm going around this turn here. I felt some pain coming out of that one of the last time I rode it. So I think also that would be great too. Or even the Paris one. Give me that ride setup.
that one hurt. The Paris one hurts my neck. The Disneyland one, actually, so Disneyland one is good because it has onboard audio. That the Space Mountain music is fun. And it's a little bit more comfortable. The track is a little bit more enjoyable. But I don't know how they would do it. I mean, but if I could have any, because I love Space Mountain, I grew up with it. I remember riding Space Mountain as a kid and my dad behind me, and I am screaming my head off in and my dad is laughing his head off. Like, and so I want Space Mountain to be there. I want it to essentially be that, but I would love to see that experience improved.
Yes, 100% agree. And I also love that at Paris and at Disneyland, they have the ability to turn on the Star Wars hyperspace version as well. I would love that as a fan of Star Wars, and just I love having variety of experiences. Give me a reason to go to the park again, right? I'll ride it. I'll ride this ride one way. I'll ride it another way. The change of opportunities is incredible.
Yeah. I'll tell you though, it is weird to go to the Disneyland Paris version and it's all Jules Verne steampunk themed, and then it's Star Wars 2. I would never have imagined Imagineers would have been okay with that, but they were, and they did it, and people like it. They don't care. They enjoy it.
People ride it. It's a popular ride. It's they love the inversions and the blast off that you get for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be excited to try it out this September. So stay tuned, folks, for a full report on that one. I've got two more here, and the first one here is I want to add 2 more countries to World Showcase. I think it's far. Now, of course, there's a lot more logistical details to that than just saying we're adding, let's say, Brazil or some other, right? The country has to want it, and they have to kind of help fund it a bit and send people over. And there's a lot of political things in the world these days that maybe Disney does or doesn't want to get involved with. Who knows? But I would love to see, another African country get involved in the mix. I would love to see South America represented in some way. Just more representation in the parks would be a wonderful thing. And just what could come with that could be another thing. I don't really know what countries would be open to such a thing. Who knows? So, I got areas that I would hope to see included.
And what's great is that when it comes to a country pavilion, there's a formula: food, drink, ride, or some kind of experience. And so and I would love to see that. I would love to see that.
Exactly. And then of course it adds more opportunities for celebrating the culture of that country, in like the Food and Wine Festival or a Flower and Garden Festival, all those opportunities, or Festival of the Holidays. Just a great way to showcase different cultures to people that maybe not be used to that very often.
Brazil kind of makes sense because you need South America representation. They already have a lot of Brazil cuisine for the festivals, and a lot of Brazilians go to Disney World, so they would love to. I don't know. I could see that working.
I think it could work too. I think it could work. And then my last speculative idea, again, I think Animal Kingdom needs a lot more rides. I hate that people say it's just a half-day park. That tears my heart out when people say that. Disney now, because of the purchase of Fox, has an amazing franchise under their IP system. It just had a movie come out not too long ago, in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But I want a Planet of the Apes area brought to Animal Kingdom with some ride, some type of restaurant experience, tie it into the Gorilla Trek that they've got going on out there, and just continue to help with park capacity out there. And then hopefully by doing that, it forces them to keep the park open later past 7 p.m.
Right.
Which drives me up a wall when I'm trying to. I can't go on a weeknight. I'm trying to, I only could get an hour if I at most at that point. Give me another reason to be out there, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything. Animal Kingdom needs more. I absolutely agree with you, and I do want to see Animal Kingdom open later. So if it means Planet of the Apes, fine. I'm not a fan of the franchise, but if that's what it takes, fine.
Let's do it. And hopefully it leads to like a nighttime spectacular, right? I went in January or December or something like that, and when the sun goes down at 5, and you can actually see a projection on the Tree of Life, which is a beautiful thing. Not a lot of people get to experience that anymore because the park closes at 6 or 7, depending on the day you're going there. So hopefully it opens up a lot of opportunity for that stuff, because people want to go and see and of course Pandora at night is the reason you should be going to Animal Kingdom. And that's the biggest money draw and ticket that they've got, and people don't get to see it, which is unfortunate. So hopefully Disney has listened to our our speculative wishes here, and maybe 1 or 2 of them hopefully will get implemented or at least announced at the D23 Expo.
I'm picturing them in their conference room writing on the whiteboard, listening to us right now.
Exactly. They're like, Anthony and Matt said. Like, you can take all the credit, guys. I don't need
Yeah.
I don't need any monetary credit or something like that. Maybe just pay for my annual pass, or give me a ticket to ride something first. Who knows? Anywho, so we're at our last question here, Matt. And for anybody that's going to the D23 Expo, perhaps for the first time, that means they may be going to the Anaheim area for the first time as well, which of course includes Disneyland, downtown Disney, just the area itself. So if you have any, what are any tips or recommendations that you have about exploring this incredible area?
Yeah, so the first thing to know is if you don't if you're planning a trip, let's say you don't already have a hotel, there are tons of great hotels that are not as expensive as the Disney hotels. They're all on Harbor Boulevard. Definitely
Yeah.
check those out. I've stayed on a lot of Harbor Boulevard hotels, and they made my trip super affordable. And many of them are like Marriott, so you can use points if you like. That can
Mhm.
make your trip much more affordable because Disneyland hotels, the ones owned by Disney, are very expensive, although they are great to stay out. Grand Californian is one of my favorite hotels in the world. It is just an
Oh,
absolute
yes.
fortune. So I'm staying there maybe a night or two when I'm there.
Oh, it's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, and so what I would say is, if you're still planning your trip, you look at the map and you look at the Harbor Boulevard entrance to Disneyland, the Disneyland Resort, and just look at the hotels that are close to that. Maybe if there's a bunch that are within a 5 to 10 minute walk, and then you're saving a lot of money there, and that's more money to spend in the parks if you'd like.
Yes.
And it's just good to know that Disneyland is, if you're used to Walt Disney World, Disneyland is a lot smaller and you can tackle a lot more, and
Hmm.
it's very walkable. So I'll recommend one day per park and you're good, and usually that's plenty even. But you can still get a park hopper, so when you can jump back and forth, that's great.
Hmm.
um I downtown Disney doesn't I mean, has stuff to offer. There's some great food and entertainment happening there, but it's not going to be as impressive as Disney Springs is,
Hmm.
especially now that Disney Springs has a drone show,
It's
and
true.
Disney Springs is like, I'm gonna guess off the top of my head, 5 or 6 times bigger
At
than
least.
downtown Disney. Yeah, and so I would say don't set any hopes on downtown Disney being anything super special or worthwhile. Honestly, when I'm there, I'm just using it for Starbucks and maybe Earl of Sandwich, maybe, but like, it's not. Don't think too much about downtown Disney. I will say, however, if you're going to the Disneyland Resort and you want to make a good dining reservation, one of my favorite places to go is actually inside the Grand Californian. It's
Hmm.
Storytellers Cafe.
Yes.
In the morning, it's a in the morning and lunch, it's a character meal. You have Mickey, Minnie, Chip and Dale. It's very arts and crafts style, craftsman style place, all about narrative and storytelling. It's very California craftsman style.
Hmm.
And then at night, there's no characters, but it's still a buffet, and the food there is great. It's a beautiful space. I generally just love Californian craftsman style things, and this is like a great example of it. And it's just one of my favorite restaurants that Disney has. So that's in the Grand Californian. That's the Storytellers Cafe. It's a great spot.
Well, I second everything you said about the Grand Californian. Perhaps one of the best experiences that my wife and
Beautiful.
I had when we went to Anaheim in 2022 was exploring the Grand Californian. And first off, just bask and enjoy the lobby, which
Lobby,
is one of the most
yes.
beautiful experiences ever. Uh, Oftentimes, my wife and I will fall asleep to a soundscape of the Grand Californian lobby itself, which has just wonderful piano music softly playing in the background, and the soft chatter of people checking into their hotel rooms or sitting on one of the big rocking chairs that they have in the space with all these nice firewood and maybe they're fake, but just the sound of fireplaces off in the distance. It is just immaculate. And for anybody, if you need to, I don't know what it's called, but there's just a secret hidden lounge in the Grand Californian. If you go off to like a random corner, there's just a random bar and lounge that just no one is at. It is probably the most best kept secrets, and I might be spoiling it here for everybody, but it typically is not really too crowded. And my wife and I would just go there and just escape the people whenever we needed to just have a breather to ourselves and just go, ah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. It's the same architect who designed Wilderness Lodge
Mhm.
and Animal Kingdom Lodge. guy named Patrick Dominic. And so you got this big grand lobby that you walk into,
Yeah.
but it's got in Californian craftsman style, which is dark wood, and these just really beautiful chairs. And they have a hearth, a fireplace hearth that you can go inside of, and it's just like grand is really like the perfect word to describe what this hotel is like. So it's a beautiful space just to exist in. It's one of my favorite spaces in the world. It's just gorgeous. So yeah, if you are at the Disney, even if you don't have a reservation, you can walk back there and just sit in the lobby and hang out. It's a great place.
No one's stopping you. No one is stopping you, and has its own entrance from downtown Disney too.
Right.
Special entrance,
and California Adventure,
and California Adventure as well. Absolutely, some of those hotel rooms have wonderful views of California Adventure. You can watch World of Color from your room at night without even having to brave the crowds and all that.
I had a room once. I've stayed there a few times. I've had a room once where I was able to walk to Soarin' within like 6 minutes from my room, which was amazing.
Oh,
so
perfect.
It's beautiful. Beautiful place. So yeah, and then my other tip would be if you can stay at the Grand Californian,
if you can afford it, do it. But you're absolutely right. Like, there's a ton of hotels within walking distance that are meeting everyone's price range and capacity. Right, there's something for everybody in the area.
Yeah. And they're clean, they're basic, no frills.
Absolutely.
They're clean, they're basic. It's not anything fancy, but the value is the proximity to Disneyland and the price that it's at. So I think just those Harbor Boulevard hotels, that's just like the pro move right there.
Absolutely. I'm going to drop everybody two hints or tips as well. And this one's for food. I'm going to say that there's a restaurant, Ristorante Napoli or Napoli Ristorante in downtown Disney, has the best pizza I've ever eaten in my life. It's a wood fire pizza. I got a large pepperoni all to myself, and I downed it all myself. It was delightful. If anybody has an opportunity, I highly recommend that. Split it with your family or eat it all yourself. The pepperoni pizza there, chef's kiss, truly delightful. And my last tip for folks as well is, if you don't want to go into the parks, you can still enjoy the fireworks experience from Disneyland outside of the park. There's a wonderful kind of open space out front of the entryway itself where you can sit down and still see the fireworks outside of the gate without having to pay entry to get in there. So, if you don't want to pay the price, or, you just got out of the convention and you still want to see some of that Disney magic yourself, just head on over there. You can sit on the ground. Other people will be doing it too, and you can enjoy the fireworks there. That's how we enjoyed the special Star Wars themed fireworks night without having to pay to go inside Disneyland for that little extra theme night ticket that they do so well over there. I wish they did a lot more of those at Walt Disney World over here as well.
Yeah.
But those are some of my tips. Of course, go to California Adventure, which bar none is a fantastic park. The way they've updated throughout the years, Credit Coaster, Avengers Campus, good Cars Land, all that great stuff is over there too. So that's all I got. Do you have any more thoughts, final thoughts, ideas, speculation, tips for Anaheim, Matt, before we round out our conversation here?
No, I think that covers it.
Perfect. So where can the folks find your TikTok, or wherever else they may find you online if they want to check out the cool content that you're doing? Because I think it's incredible, and I'm always looking for your next video.
Thank you. So all my socials are on mattrichardson.com. mattrichardson.com is where you'll see everything that I link to, because it's different. Like I couldn't get my full name on TikTok, so I'm Matt Hungry Again, which is an old Xbox name for some reason. But
I love
I'm Matt
it.
Richardson. Yeah, I'm Matt Richardson on Instagram though, and so if you go to mattrichardson.com, you'll see all my socials there, and you can get in touch with me if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Yes, go follow Matt. Go check out all of the work that he's doing in the parks, outside of the parks. It's always fun, and I love to see what adventures you're doing next. So I can't wait to follow your journey and see where you're going next, and to follow along with your D23 adventures as well, because I'm sure you'll be off doing different things. I'll be doing different things. It's always fun to see what everybody else is doing at the convention, just get that whole holistic experience that everybody's having at this place, because you're not gonna be able to see it all. That's like the first and foremost thing of a convention, is like, pick and choose what you want to see, and just be okay with the fact that you're not going to do it all.
Right. I can't wait to compare notes.
Absolutely. So thanks again for coming on the show, Matt. This has been a wonderful time to chat and speculate about the D23 Expo. I can't wait to see what actually will entail when when we're up upon the expo and walking into the convention center in just a few short days here. So, and for the folks at home, thank you for listening so much to this podcast. I hope you enjoy it, and check out the D23 Expo, and we'll of course be tweeting. Follow along our social media, Instagram, TikTok. We'll be doing everything D23 as we're there, boots on the ground at the convention. And of course, we'll be back with a brand new episode on Sunday. And what that is about, I don't know, because we recorded this episode in advance. So just be on the lookout for that. More information will be on our socials, of course. And until then, may the force be with you. Take care.